Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Thank you for joining us today for episode 3 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes. For our third episode, we take you to Preservation Distillery and Farm, which is in Bardstown, Kentucky. We actually visited there right after our Bardstown Bourbon Company tour. And as I'm recalling, it was a pretty darn hot day, wasn't it?
It was a very hot day, and the experience temperature-wise was much different at Preservation than it was at Bardstown.
Share a little bit about your memory of the distillery tour there.
It was hot. But we walked outside, and the area, if you haven't been to Preservation, it's a small building that they have it in. So we walked inside, I believe it was on the right-hand side, and they walked us down this path, and they basically were warning us, which was true, to be very careful because there was a lot of hoses and they were working that day. They were distilling. So we walked through there, sweated like mad, walked around to the backside, came back around. And I think at that point you had to basically sit down, if I remember.
Yeah, that first part was all about where their tanks were, and their stills were in there, and then they were going to go into their smallish barrel room, and I just didn't think I could do it. I mean, I was so hot, and it happened that a little kitten came up, and they said he was just visiting, but I think he was going to be their distillery cat. So I sat down and I was still in earshot, so I could hear them talking you through the process. And I think they did a barrel thieving at that point, didn't they?
They did. They went ahead and they started pouring some small sample cups out of the barrel. I thought it was okay. And if I remember correctly as well, inside we also got to taste White Dog. And the White Dog...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the White Dog, this is my second time trying it. And earlier I'd really liked it. And this time I really liked it. So kind of a dichotomy. I'm worried about the heat of bourbon, and I'm drinking 120, 130 moonshine, and I'm enjoying it. So I don't know, it must be the hillbilly. Anyway, so we sat outside, we got our samples, and then we walked inside the building. And if you go there now, you will see a gift shop. And then what is behind the gift shop now is where the tasting area is and was at that time.
Yeah, it was just, now it's a little more walled off, whereas before it was very visible, very long tasting tables with long benches. It was interesting because we sat down, we had a pretty good group with us. That makes a huge difference if you have a fun group on your tour. And they were really nice, and we took turns taking pictures for one another. We did a 3-sample guided tasting, and it involved cowboy whiskey, and what you see here, this very Olde St rye, and a Waddy Boone whiskey. My recollection is that they were all very light. And none of them were a bourbon. 2 of them were whiskeys, and this is a rye. So it was kind of interesting from that perspective. And we knew from the tour that they were not yet releasing anything of their own. And as a matter of fact, when we were just there in December, we found out they had just been now releasing some of their own pot still bourbon.
One other memory I have is the tour guide that we had was a gentleman, probably in his mid to late 60s, that was retired. He was a retired teacher. And he started talking about the fact that he got bored, and he decided that he wanted to just do something a little bit different and something historic. And lo and behold, he walks into this job. So he's telling us, I'm making $16 an hour. I'm drinking bourbon from start of the day to the end, and I'm loving it. He even during the tour, while it's hot as could be outside, he was just passionate about the place, passionate about what they were doing, and the dude was my hero. Because man, I want that type of job when I hang it up.
Well, and it's funny because we have, through the years, found so many of these tour guides are retired teachers because they're very comfortable talking in front of people. They can memorize data and historical facts, and they generally get along well with people because they're used to interacting with people all day. So he was fantastic.
It was a wonderful time, and it's a really cool place. So now we come to this bottle.
Yeah, now we come to the taste part of the episode, which we purchased this very Olde St. Estate Reserve Summer Rye. So let's tell you a little bit about that. As I said, it was It is a summer rye whiskey, and they named that because it's usually selected prior to the heat of the summer. Typically, this has been aged 5 years, although there's no age statement on it. Again, they were not distilling anything of their own then, but they did partner with several other places. This is produced and bottled even today at Olde St Distillery, which is also in Bardstown, Kentucky. And as far as we know, it's not available to visit. This is an 81 proof rye, and we paid $169 for this. And I'll just say, I don't know how it's going to taste today, but we bought everything that day.
Yeah.
And we bought every one of our samples from that experience. And this one we have opened. The other two we've never opened. So this is literally the bottle we bought that day in April of 2022. We're going to taste it for the second time. Let's take a look at this.
Okay.
It is very gold.
It is gold.
Highly golden. And there's no, I didn't mention a mash bill because there's an undisclosed mash bill. We don't know what it is, but obviously it's a rye. So it's at least 51% rye. Very golden. I mentioned it was 81 proof, so not sure the legs. It looks a little thin on the glass, but
it's trying.
It's trying. Let's check out the nose. Some citrus notes. Would you say?
If you say it.
Well, often my citrus note for rye is more orange. This is more lemon. I mean, it's very light and inviting. It does. Okay, I can see why it would be called a summer rye. We also have one of their winter ryes now, a very Olde St winter rye, which we've never opened, just saying. But sometimes in the summer, you want a lighter drink. And you are starting to get some legs on your glass. I can see that.
I will say this, because it is a low proof, that there's actually a lot going on here. I've known some ryes that really didn't get much. And at 81 proof, I'm surprised. You're right on the lemon zest. The ryegrass is there. And we've tried ryes. We haven't picked up the ryegrass at
Well,
first.
I'm not getting a lot of spice on it, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and have a taste to memories from 2022 and
Cheers.
Preservation.
That is light.
It is very light, but you do know it's a rye.
It starts off thin, and then all of a sudden it hits, and then all of a sudden it goes away.
Yeah, we're not talking about the finish yet. Let's just keep talking about the palate, but it's kind of a hit and run. I don't know if that's a good expression or not, but.
And I'm getting, I don't know if it's a power of suggestion, but I do believe this because I've tasted this. You are getting a lot of zest on this. I'm surprised, and it is a lemon zest. I totally agree with that, but it is very little at the beginning, and all of a sudden,
Yeah, let's have another sip, and just for the palate again, see if we can pick up any other flavors.
Okay.
And we'll hold off on talking about the finish. Maybe in the back of my palate, there's an ever so light mintiness. It's almost like a minted lemon tea.
I am getting a little touch of baking spice. Just a touch with it.
On the back of your tongue?
Kind of when it punches in the middle of the punch, I'm getting that. I'm really torn on this.
It's pleasant, but it's not complex. Well, let's go ahead and taste it for the finish, and then we'll wrap up talking about if we have a recommendation.
Okay.
It definitely has rye spice going when you're talking about the finish. It hits, but it's very short. And I'm not really getting much oak or any kind of barrel notes on it.
Ryegrass, lemon zest, and a little baking spices.
And a hint of mint. Still getting that hint. It's like a fresh kind of thing happening.
A hint of mint.
Hint of mint.
Or a mint a hint. Or an entomint.
So I think it's okay.
I've had worse, I've had better. How much was it?
It was too much.
Okay.
We paid $169 for this.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's too much. I think we were enamored by our first day on the trail and spent way more money than we should have and tried to avoid our mistakes there. I would probably not purchase this again. I was just on their website before we started filming, and they don't even seem to offer this particular one anymore. Now they offer a cask strength version, and it's a lot. It's like 115 proof. So that's probably my gut is it's probably a lot better, but I do think it's even more expensive. So it's hard to say. But this at an 81 proof, this talking about the flavor profile, how the mouth feels, the short finish. While it's very nice, I'd say it was very nice for $50.
I was thinking 40 to 50.
Yeah. So I think overall, I'm glad we're tasting it again today. It's good to, go back and this is all about, diving down the memories and thinking about what we experienced that day. And it's funny how we can remember being hot, and here it is a cold winter day today, and tasting what we tasted on that same day and what we brought home with us. But now a little bit older and wiser, I probably wouldn't pay $169 for this. And based on my rye preferences now, this probably wouldn't hit my palate. I want something a little more complex on a rye now.
But it's everybody starts off, and there are things you learn while you're going along the trail to be wiser with your money and to get the most out of your time there. So
you can have more experiences.
Yes, and it hadn't deterred us because we've been there several times since. We just reviewed a bottle just recently. Thank you for your time. Cheers, Preservation. We love you guys. We look forward to going out there again, and hope all of you have a great day. Remember to drink responsibly, and go ahead and click the follow button and see what we do.
And join us next week for episode 4, which is Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark?
Yeah.
Wow.
Cheers.
Cheers.